Hello there, this is Tournament and a Teabreak. My name is Ros Satar,
And I'm Anita Stahl.
and we are at the end of what has felt like a long 2 weeks. What do you reckon?
I mean, it's they call it the fifth slam for a reason. It just with two huge draws, it feels like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, I've been here for almost 2 weeks. When you take into account arriving, being here for all access while the last of the qualifying is going on, then the main draw stuff. So it does feel pretty hectic. But we are down to our last four.
A fortnight.
Yes, we've been educating each other on various idiosyncrasies of each other's country. So I've learnt righty tighty, lefty loosey. You've learnt nipping to the loo.
Oh, who says I mean, yeah, apparently one nips to the loo.
One nips to the loo, yes.
Americans have to take a leak.
No, Americans go to the restroom.
Or they take a leak, depending on... Is nipping to the loo not casual? Because going to the restroom is what you say...
In polite company.
Yeah. Do you say I have to nip to the loo in polite company?
Yeah, I'm just nipping to the loo. For those of you who are wondering, not only are Anita and I here in our little growling house, but we are also joined by JJ Loves Tennis. Jimmy48, who is sitting in the corner now sniggering away at the two of us. Anyway, let's get on to the question in hand. We have two finals, 4 people vying for a great big huge piece of glass. Hopefully now they've got 2 pieces of glass so they don't have to come and nick one from the women when the men are about to finish. Let's start with the women's final. Well, who would have thought this one at the start? Would you have put money on Daria Kasatkina versus Naomi Osaka at the very beginning?
I mean, here's the thing. We've got, the women's final is 2 young women, the next generation, and the men's final, where no one has been stopped talking about the men's next generation, and yet we've got these 2 old dudes in the men's final. So I wasn't primed to think of 2 young women in the final, but within the narrative of this tournament and the tour, it actually makes perfect sense that you'd have Naomi Osaka and Daria Kasatkina facing each other in the final.
I mean, there are a lot of good upcoming youngsters, and these 2 seem to have just risen to the top. Not only that, but I mean, they've had us charmed all this fortnight with just this easy, almost filterless approach to press, which has been a joy when you consider, we talked about it earlier, the more guarded approach of some players. Okay, one player in particular. I mean, I wonder, I'm sure something's going to happen at some stage at a slam and they're going to get hammered by news journalists and that age of innocence when they're in press is gone. But for now, this all seems to be a big adventure for them.
I'm not even sure it will be gone. Because Naomi Osaka has that internet kind of rebellion that when those people talk to her, she'll just give her a look of like, what are you talking about? And turn to a young person who she thinks is cool and talk to them instead.
Whereas Daria you just have a kind of, my mind is empty.
Yeah, she won't give them the answer they're looking for because she'll just like go off on a beautiful tangent. So I'm not too worried about them getting jaded anytime soon. And I think what will happen is that the news media, like the conventional media and writers, are going to get so confused by everything that they say that they can't parlay it to a general audience. And it's going to make room for the younger media to interpret what these players are saying.
But in the meantime, they both have very differing games. I've been saying all week that I think that Kasatkina is an expert tactician. She might like to play it down. She sort of says, I have no time to think, I just do. Bang, bang, bang. Ball here, ball there, ball everywhere. But actually, she's quite an intelligent player. She knows how to mix up her shots. She throws in all kinds of things. You know what she reminds me of? She reminds me of a young Roberta Vinci with the slicing and the dicing and the lobs and the scampering about hither and thither.
Well, I think to put together parts of what you were saying is on the one hand that she's really intelligent, but also that she says she doesn't have to think. And from how I interpret it, she has such an immense intelligence that she truly doesn't have to think. Like, it doesn't feel cerebral to her. It just translates immediately into action. Whereas Osaka's nature is much more cerebral. I mean, the way she talks about her inner dialogue while she's on the court, she's clearly having very cogent thoughts out there. And I believe each of them when they say that. I believe Kasatkina when she says she's not thinking when she's out there, that when she's playing like she was against Venus Williams, I think she just gets into the zone and there are no real thoughts, no word-based thoughts in her mind when she's playing. And Naomi Osaka, I think her struggle is keeping the concentration to keep those articulated thoughts out of her mind while she plays.
Yeah, I mean, this is I don't know whether this is a tough one to call or an easy one to call. And a lot of people, I was perusing my Twitter line. A lot of people were veering on heart versus mind. I mean, I know who I think is going to win. I have a rough idea what I think the score is going to be.
I think it's soul versus mind, not heart versus mind.
Are we going all existential at...
No, maybe I'm the wrong one. Wait. No, I don't know who means what, because to me, Kasatkina would be the heart, because she's playing from the heart in terms of, like, not...
Oh, I get you.
But she's playing from the soul, whereas the one who actually has to think, who uses a thought process, to me, would be Osaka.
I was thinking more of people voting with their heart versus both voting with their head.
I see.
But that's good too.
Okay, I thought like that.
No, that works
the
too.
The two
actually.
on the court represented that battle.
No, I mean my gut feel is it's going to be Kasatkina in 3. I think. I think if you can push it to 3, Osaka's going to have trouble concentrating for that long or keeping that level of concentration for that long. And I think that Kasatkina showed in that match against Venus, she doesn't panic. She fights till the very last ball and then some. I mean, you could see the emotion in her eyes when you know that Andrew Kretzky had to actually comfort her and when she did her on-court interview with Pam Schreiber, you could see that she was on the brink of going. I just hope that her emotions don't take over, because so far she's done a very good job of keeping them in check. In fact, they both have, to be fair. Both of them have displayed extreme mental fortitude that you wouldn't normally necessarily associate with them.
I mean, with keeping emotions in check, Osaka literally in the press conference after her semifinal win said she was already, while playing, thinking about what she was going to do when she wins, aside from her inner discussion about throwing the racket or not, and if she wants to be that extra like Daria. She also said that she was thinking if she would force out a tear or not.
Oh, yeah.
That emotion doesn't come naturally to her.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much the emotional reaction of nerves would be, and the emotion of being on the court would get to her.
Well, and this isn't their first rodeo. This isn't the first final for either of them, but it is their biggest final to date.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going with Kasatkina in 3.
I'll do Kasatkina in 2.
Okay.
Very long, grindy sets.
Very, very long grind.
Actually,
sets.
no. She's going to crush it in the first one, and then Osaka will do well in the second, but it's not going to be enough to beat Kasatkina.
Okay, so kind of a 6-3, 7-5 feeling.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah?
Yes. My money's on that.
Okay.
Which is another way of saying Osaka in 3, because I'm that bad at predicting these things.
So we've already touched on the fact we've got old dudes next. One who can seemingly do no wrong, and one who I think on the post his 400th win on the tour, searching for that still elusive Masters title. I think there's going to be a lot of people in the crowd, obviously going to be pro Federer, but I think there's going to be a lot of people in the crowd pro Del Potro as well.
Oh yeah, people love Delpo. I mean, they do everywhere because he's just the nicest guy on tour. I would say one of the big guys. He's definitely one of the nicest and most liked and likable. He doesn't have that arrogant streak. He doesn't pretend like he's better than everybody else, as some players do. And People like that.
I wonder how much of that is really down to everything that's happened to him, the wrist injuries and the operations, the comebacks that have been halted because he's felt more pain, thus more injury. You know, I mean, I can remember him and Andy having a feisty, Andy Murray having a feisty interchange. So he wasn't always a saint and this wonderful, humble shamble of a bear that everybody sees. But now, you know, everybody loves him. What interests me is when Federer doesn't have a crowd that is completely for him, it rattles him. And you know, I don't know how much he was being rattled by the conditions because it was quite gusty today, but also how much he was rattled by the fact that people seemed to rally against the underdog. The crowd seemed to be pretty, you know, raucous for the good tennis that Coric was showing. Now he's going to be up against a fan favourite.
Yeah, and if Delpo kind of takes a page out of Coric's playbook, he just needs to hit that ball really deep, and Federer will unravel because it drives him absolutely nuts when Federer can't play his game and he can't come in, and that's what Coric did. And I mean, Federer was yelling some really aggravated things to his box and was clearly upset with how the match was going. And if Delpo can pick up on some of that, he can hurt Federer pretty bad.
I mean, the head-to-head's a little shocking. I think it's 18-6. But Del Potro's won at some of the key pivotal matches. And he's just playing with his heart. We're back to hearts and minds here. He's just playing with his heart at the moment. And I think the crowd just responds to that. You know, everybody wants just good things to happen for him. And there's probably going to be quite a big, South American contingent that are going to be making quite a lot of noise for him.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how Federer does react, especially with that scrubby, stuffy beard. It's like, no, this is not a look, Roger. This is not a look at all. It makes your face look fat. And you're sponsored by Gillette, for God's sake. Go and have a shave. But again, this for me is another heart and mind. My heart truly, truly, truly wants Del Potro to win. It really does. Just to give him a Masters title before the end of his career, to give him something to give back to the crowd. My head says Federer in 3.
I'm going to say Delpo in 3. I go with my heart on this one, not my gut or my brain.
So, at this rate, that means Coric will come and win.
Yeah, pretty much. No, at this rate, probably Raonic.
What?
Milos is coming back. Watch out.
Yeah, it'll probably be quite slow though. Okay, so what have been your highlights of this fortnight?
Amanda Anisimova breaking through.
Mm-hmm.
That was so fun to watch, and she's just such a good kid. I mean, a lot of these young ones I'm just so happy with. Dasha Koskina, Naomi Osaka, Borna Coric. Yeah, there's a lot of great young talent, and they also kind of bopped on the nose of who some of the young talent was supposed to be. Your Shapovalovs and your Sasha Zverevs that, like, yeah, they've got a lot of talent, but I feel like this tournament made it clear that those aren't the only ones worth talking about in this generation, and maybe give those guys a little bit of humility and remind them that they're not yet established and proven, that they've got quite a ways to go. Yeah,
I mean, for me, I think the highlight was almost like a de facto final was Dasha and Venus, and the way she fought, just the way she didn't panic when she lost the first set, when she went down in the third, just everything about that match really made me sit up and think, yeah, you're the real deal. You really, you're the one to watch.
Of course, it makes it so frightening with what a precarious labor professional sports is to get too excited about someone at that age and then it's a slip and fall, an icy day, car accident.
Well, she said it herself, didn't she? You can.
Yeah, that she's celebrating it like it's the best moment of her life because she doesn't take anything for granted, and she can't expect that this is going to happen again.
All in all, do we think we've had a good tournament?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few disappointments on the ATP side. Just things weren't shaken out to be too exciting until the end.
Yeah.
But the women just, it's such an exciting time to be a women's tennis fan because every tournament you have to pay attention to and watch because you never know what's going to happen. The ATP at this moment is much more predictable, and a lot of fan favorites aren't showing up to tournaments. So this tournament, I think, really let women's tennis show off how incredible it is and the depth that it has, and that it's really depth, not weakness.
Agreed. And then after this, of course, roll on Miami, but neither of us are going there, so let's leave it there. Okay, well, thank you very much for your patience. You have been listening to Tournament and Teabreak from Britwatch Sports. I'm Ros Satar.
And I'm Anita Stahl.